being in the job that I am in, it's rock and roll, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's lots of traveling, there's lots of like emotional episodes, be it, the actual gig itself. There's also that thing where you want to reward yourself at the end of a pretty stressful day, and there's booze everywhere. The rider is just, I look at it sometimes and you think there's far more alcohol than we could all drink. But to navigate around the booze, it's just to be literally away from it, in the hotel room longer, not hanging around, not going to the festival half a day early and seeing your friends and getting carried away, things like that. And also during the pandemic, I learned German and stuff like this. I'd kind of stepped over myself because I just thought I couldn't do it. And overcoming some of the problems that I faced on a day-to-day basis was very helpful.
Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. We're bridging the gap between mental health, wellness, and rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Hey, are you feeling a little stuck in life? I offer wellness coaching sessions. Book a session with me if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead. Sessions are available worldwide. And check this out. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We've simplified your shopping experience and given you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. And did you know all our Collaborative Resource Hub interviews air on YouTube as well as all major podcast platforms? Subscribe to stay in the loop. Go immerse yourself in the full Collaborative Resource Hub experience over on our website. You'll have access to helpful resources that will inspire and educate you. So let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer. Nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. Super. Tom from the Toy Dolls, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing quite well as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we were chatting earlier before we started recording. You went for a good walk today, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I had a very nice, quite a brisk walk up a big hill. Lots and lots of steps. And I feel quite good about that today, because always try and do a bit of a walk every day.
Yeah.
It's just good to get out,
Do you notice a difference on days that you don't go out and walk?
Cool, yeah. Like, say, for instance, if I'm doing something like arty, like if I've got a project to do, be it like illustration or video or something like that, I'll work constantly all the way through, more or less like all day, every day and night, and kind of obsessive because I kind of worry that I'll lose the inspiration or the flow, so to speak. And then I don't go out at all, and then I realise, oh, you're getting too much into your own world, and you have to go out really just to. And it's good for ideas as well. You can, you're away from all the stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm really crap with discipline like that. It's like I know I should, when I'm working, I should like designate this time for getting up, work, this time for a bit of a break and all this, but it doesn't really work like that, and it winds everyone up around me as well. So, but then also I guess it's not. You get a bit anxious that you're not going to finish the job, or it's going to be crap. It's going to be rubbish or whatever, and it's that whole thing of, putting yourself out there, I suppose. So yeah, walking. That's a very long way round to say that walking, getting outside is very good. And more recently, I've been swimming as well. It sounds very basic stuff for a lot of people, but sometimes you can like sit and think about it for a week, talk yourself out of it again, and then sometimes not think about it too much and do it. And I guess there's lots of different factors which stops these kind of easy things to do.
Yeah.
So there's also that psychological thing when you're happy you actually went and did it anyway, and you think, well, I did it, nice one.
Well, you feel like that just such satisfaction within, just proud of yourself for like, because like for me, like especially on the weekends, I do like a 2-mile power walk, and then I come back and do weights, and then I do a cold shower and I meditate. And when I'm done, I feel like so good and just proud that I did it, because I didn't want to when I woke up.
No, it's the last thing you want to do. Is like, it's work, isn't it? Sometimes when like the thing work out. I mean, I don't think I've done a workout for a long time, but yeah, it's not really the top of your list when you get up and you think, I don't actually want to get up sometimes. And then you think, well, you have to, and you feel very good about doing it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what does wellness mean to you?
I mean, generally, it's nowadays it's like taking more care of myself, I guess, in constructive ways that capture that hold my attention. Put it that way. That's something I can get involved in instead of just the like in the past. If you have trouble, I mean, troubles or celebrations, anything like that. Of course, booze is a big thing, and when you realise that booze fills in the gaps of everything, you think, oh, have to be a bit more conscious about the decisions that you make. So then, for instance, being in the job that I am in, it's rock and roll, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's lots of traveling. There's lots of like emotional episodes, be it traveling, be it the actual gig itself, disasters, calamities, or good stuff. All sorts of things can happen in one day.
Yeah.
And there's also that thing where you want to reward yourself at the end of a pretty stressful day. So that would come in, and there's booze everywhere, loads of like, the rider is just, I look at it sometimes and you think it's far more alcohol than we could all drink, if you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
how do you navigate that then?
well, I've got a kind of rule for myself, which I've had now for many years with toy dolls, is definitely I won't have a drink before the gig at all. In the past, maybe I'd have a couple to take the edge off, but then you get more used to it, and then then you have about two or three to take the edge off, and you've already started drinking. So so now I do that and walk around, get lots of steps in before the gig, because me and the singer Olga do circuits of the dressing room and talk insane talk, chatter. So that's not so good for wellness because it really does wind you up. But to navigate around the booze, it's just to be literally away from it in a way that in the hotel room longer, not hanging around, not going to the festival half a day early, and
Right.
and seeing your friends and getting carried away, things like that, because I do quite easily get carried away. So it's just about prevention, I suppose. And also with age now as well. Say, for instance, in the past, in the 90s, I could get away with drinking every day on tour, as part of the thing, like touring, and if you're younger and more naive. But now with the being in more of a having a responsibility to have, people pay the money to see the band, so you've got to be good, that
Let's
haphazard logic. It's very, that's how it works. So with the tour, of course, you pace yourself, or just
yeah.
don't drink until the last night if you've got the energy to do it, and more often than not you don't.
Yeah. Well, that's it too. I mean, I would imagine that like you yourself and the band is just more cohesive and tighter when like
I was loads better.
you're more clear-headed, and that you're putting on a better show, so it's focusing on the performance.
I mean, as a practical thing, totally, it's much better, and also on a personal level, everyone just I mean, we all get along really well anyway, and we've all been through all sorts of things together, as a band does. And I think when we're all quite on the level, it's just things are so much easier, and it's no one's grumpy in the van with a hangover and complaining about like some kind of, because it's not for everybody. The traveling is kind of relentless, and you could just think, oh, here we go, another 4 hours of sleep with the 90-degree neck in the van. So but it's much better, I guess, when nobody's like has a self-imposed kind of flu, like when you got a hangover and you're a bit grumpy and you want to eat. And that's another thing, you don't really eat very well on tour anyway. Well, I don't. And you just fancy just crap when you've got a hangover. You just want to eat all this bad stuff, which again isn't good for the concert, for the gig. So yeah, there's lots of different things, real luxury problems to worry about during the day. Oh God, I can't. You know what I mean? It's just but yeah, that's just kind of how it is sometimes, So yeah, to a very long-winded answer, better when we're not drinking.
Yes. Put a bow on it with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, is there a point that you kind of had in your life where you had to focus on yourself and like make yourself more of a priority? Otherwise, you just weren't going to be in a great space?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of brought to my attention a while back, because again, like, I mean, you don't really recognize it yourself, or you push it away because you're so focused on getting from one day to the next in the, not, that sounded quite dramatic, but well, navigating your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, way back, I have a kind of a chaotic life, lots of different things and lots of different like chapters or whatever, like anybody, like any life really, you all have your things and defining moments and this and that, and I always put my own feelings and my own actual health completely behind me, like it wasn't a priority. I didn't would put myself last all the time.
Just because like denial, sort of.
Just
You didn't.
denial kind of thing, yeah. And also I was so used to, I don't know, not think, you know, I just thought I just got some problems and it's not such a big deal. And then I guess when I changed my life to I moved to from England to Germany, and I also, like, you know, everything that goes with that, and I became a father at the same time. I didn't learn the language before I came here, which is which now is a silly thing to look back on. So basically, I was in a whole world of confusion, new responsibilities, like a completely new situation, and I recognised that I just wasn't really handling it so well. I just thought I was going along like usual. It was brought to my attention my coping strategies were a bit destructive, like, you know. So that's when I thought, oh well, maybe I should actually have a, you know, because you thinking it's again a cliche, or other people have like problems or mental health issues and all this, and you just think, I'll keep going. Yeah, then I looked for some help, and that kind of wound me up even more.
How
I mean,
come?
it was all right. I mean, I had some, like, where you go and talk to, you know, go and have some therapy and that. But I don't think that particular thing worked for me, because it was digging up a lot of the past. Maybe that's, I mean, that's the kind of therapy it was, to look at these things, deal with them, and all this. And I didn't feel like dealing with the stuff all over again, and it kind of wound me up. And then when, say, at the end of a session, to go, oh, and now you can go home, and you wound up with all this stuff inside of you. And so after a while, I had enough and quit it.
Yeah, it sounds like it wasn't very, I guess, solution focused. It was
Not
just
really.
dredging it up without
Exactly.
like helping you process or clear through it.
It's like always answering a question with a question, and I wanted to go there for, you know, some answers, I suppose. Um, so I guess after doing that, I realised, because I don't know, when you do something like that, you think you get fixed or something like this. I don't really know. That's a very naive way of looking at it, but it was anything but. And so maybe it did help in a way, that talking about a lot of stuff, and then, but I don't really know. My overall impression, it wasn't so helpful. And then I quit that. I was just quite relieved that I didn't have to commit to these like many sessions all the time, and I had this sense of freedom. And then we were playing a bit more, and I guess, I don't know, lots of the things, I guess, with time, and also during the pandemic, I learned German and stuff like this. I'd kind of stepped over myself because I just thought I couldn't do it, and overcoming some of the problems that I faced on a day-to-day basis was very helpful.
Was
You
it,
know,
were you trying to like kind of like acclimate like with baby steps, or was it just like a
it
breaking
was,
point? Like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna do this thing now.
well, it was kind of, the pandemic forced my hand, really, because
Yeah.
it was the gig stopped. We were in the middle of a tour, and I was like, when it all hit, I was actually quite happy. I thought, oh, we can have a rest now. You know, it's quite stressy, and I thought, oh, like, and then it just went on forever and ever, and I thought, oh no. And then you start going, oh, but all I know is how to blah blah, and then so with Brexit, as I live in Germany, I wanted to keep my European rights that I had before until Brexit happened, and there was like a cut-off point, and I applied in usual my style, in a way, like the last minute, did it, and then like during the pandemic, you know, and again I had to step over myself, because playing a gig or a festival is like no problem, but going into like a classroom and or going on the bus, things like that, you have an absolute nightmare going, oh, this is horrible, which is something I didn't make sense of myself. So I really did force myself. Maybe it was a stronger time, or I don't really know. I can't really explain it, but I did it and didn't really enjoy it so much. But it was good to know, and now I don't live in so much confusion.
Yeah, that
And
helps.
I've got used to my surroundings a lot more. It was just so oppressive in a way, not anything to do with the people or anything. It's just all the things you grow up doing and walking about, your roots, your friends, your this, your that, and then sometimes at 3:00 in the morning with a baby who won't sleep crying, I feel a bit lonely. you
Yeah.
know yeah. So, and because I also, my main reason, I guess, when it was brought to my attention to seek some help was becoming a father, because I didn't want to pass on any negative things. And again, it's kind of a cliche is a cliche, because it happens a lot, I suppose, because I wanted to, I was conscious of that. And also I wanted to clean my act up a bit,
Yeah.
basically. And
Well,
be
I think that's really important though, to have that awareness when you have a
Yeah,
kid, to
totally.
start to like sort out your own self so that you don't
Mhm.
pass on anything that might be
Like
unnecessary.
negative stuff, because I recognized when I became a father, forget about the therapy, but becoming a father makes you step over your childhood a fair bit. Stuff comes back to you and you think, bloody hell. So yeah, it's been a absolute pleasure being a father
Yeah.
thus far. It's been excellent. Couldn't be happier.
How old how old is your child now?
Yeah, she's 11 now, so
Wow.
so I moved here just before she was born, and here we are.
Here's an advert in less than 20 seconds. Did you know that Wellness Provisions offers one-on-one wellness sessions? Yep. So if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead in life, but feeling a little stuck, then book a session and let's get you unstuck. Now back to the interview. What's something that's like really important to you that you would want, that you're trying to instill in her, or something you want her to learn as she gets older?
I'd go like, follow your dreams, really, and don't feel like you're constrained by anything, because, like, again, let's say when I grew up, very strict upbringing, and lots of, when you're a certain age, you should know what you want to do and work that way and this way, and if you do that, it's useless and blah blah blah, and you don't, sometimes you literally don't know what you want to do or what you're good at or this or that. So I think with my daughter, like, try many things. Don't like get forced into anything you don't want to do, because doing things under duress is a waste of time. It's
Absolutely.
counterproductive. And I kind of stumbled through life to get where to be doing what I'm doing now, by just being a bit bloody minded in a way that I thought I really like to do that. So you kind of by default. So I don't know, but I would say, she's got my full support with, everything. And
Yeah.
I think that's a very good thing, and to follow her dreams, and just be not, be nice, and don't be, and she's, got that anyway, I think. So, and have a good sense of humor, because everything's a bit silly, really.
Life is so much easier when you can
Yeah.
just laugh at stuff and not take everything so seriously.
Yeah. It's again, it's easy to say as well. Sometimes you think, oh God, this day is so rubbish, and the tiniest things can piss you off, and then the next day it's like, God, I'm so happy to be alive. You think, what the bloody, the people you're living with are thinking, God, who's it going to be today? But usually it's, think nice, it's the sun is shining, etc., that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And also, I think, when you have got an interest, I mean, it's, luckily when I was younger, it was like, okay, again, the obsessive kind of background of like the music thing, I like this band, I've got to know everything about them and hear everything, it's an obsession. And then I actually thought, when you're about 25, 26, it fades away, and then you've got to get a proper job and that.
Yeah, you have to grow up.
Yeah, totally. But you don't. It just, actually, in my case, it just got better. And I was very surprised. I'm still waiting to get a proper job, but
I mean, like, but that's it though. And I feel like people, they're brought up thinking like, well, this is not a typical, profession or job or whatever. But like, if you're super passionate to the point of like an obsession or whatever, then like, I think you're probably meant to go down that road.
Yeah, maybe it was say for instance, we did in the 90s, we did this band called Goober Patrol, which we've still got it, but we do like 1 gig a year now. But we all lived together, and we all did the band together. We all partied together, and it was just this kind of brilliant sort of punk commune thing. And we did that for like 18 years, I suppose. And it was just the thing. And our drummer said, we were basically playing and then paying our rent sometimes, somehow. It wasn't realistic income because, we were always broke, but it was the best time because you didn't really need any money. And our drummer said, I think I'm going to go to university and try and get a proper qualification and stuff like this. And I said, and it broke my heart. I thought, oh no, what am I? I had no aspirations about anything educational. I just wanted to play music in rubbish clubs. You know what I mean? It's like, it's great. I love it, and I still do. And so anyway, they did that, and we all still lived together. And I thought, I better go. So I thought, I'll go to art college. Maybe I'll meet interesting people there. I didn't think anything of it so much, and it was really good actually. I really enjoyed it. But more or less the week I left art college, I joined Toy Dolls, so I never got the proper job. So that was kind of, I put that on the back burner, and when I actually joined that band, it was only supposed to be for 1 year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was 2003. I joined. 2004 was a tour, just to do 1 year, see you later kind of thing.
Yeah.
And here we are, long time later.
Wow.
So as far as anything is concerned in my life, that's been the longest constant thing, which is, it's great, sometimes very stressful, sometimes, well, usually and mostly always a lot of fun, so yeah, I can't remember what the question was. I
don't know either. These are more, at this point, like they just turn into conversations.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
So but I will ask another question. What so overall, is there anything, I guess, that you've picked up that you really like, a tool that you use or call on for just staying grounded, or if you do get super stressed out, like how do you cope?
Ooh, good. That's a good one. There's been many trying situations recently. I mean, it's like, cancelled flights, things like this, on a practical scale, sense. But you have to I always think to myself, well, you're still alive. It doesn't matter, just what's the worst that can happen? You might miss the gig, or you might not pass the German course. You might not do this. It's that consciously addressing that you might fail, because that's what has put me off in the first place from trying lots of stuff, because I just thought, A, I can't do it, no confidence, and B, I can't do it, and I'm a bit scared of how it's going to go, and then you just have a go. So that's a lot of my to ground myself. Say, for instance, in the past, after a big long tour or a couple of big old festivals and stuff, and you feel like, like the adrenaline thing can keep going for like a couple of days sometimes, in a way. And I used to drink, and it was brilliant, job done, celebration, all this, and then I'd literally have to have 2 days afterwards to recover. Of course, being a dad, I'm not doing that anymore, because I'm not coming home. Like, for instance, I came home yesterday from Slovakia.
Yeah.
Big long travel, airport, bars, things like that. Apart from being very expensive, it's not the best coming home, half cut and maybe a bit negative. I don't really know. So that's what keeps me grounded, is thinking about coming home and trying to get it's everything. There's always a decompression time between things, be it a project or a gig or a tour, whatever. And
yeah, and that's what I was going to ask also, is if you give yourself sort of like time to ease back into being a dad again, and just life.
It's because it's flipping from different identities really, and it's kind of difficult sometimes. Also, if you've had a very problematic weekend and you get back and you want to offload this stuff, but it's not as important as what family stuff and things like that. And I don't know, I guess a lot of you kind of tuck it behind sometimes. I don't really know.
But that bums me out because it is important. It's your life.
No, totally. Sometimes it's difficult to get your own. I don't know. I think how to say it, like I've not been very forward with being forward a lot of my life, if that doesn't make sense at all. But I'm not very one to speak up a lot because of I guess being discipline, things like this from the past. And I guess it bleeds into the rest of your life, I guess, because you sometimes like this I don't know. Yeah, it's difficult.
But just know that your life, your experiences, whether they fit into the mold of whatever life is supposed to be or someone else's issues, they matter. And like, it shouldn't be devalued. You're you, and you're entitled to feel and want to share stuff.
But sometimes when there's lots of stuff going on, and if you have not a reputation, if you quite not a reputation for being good at supposedly coping with stuff, and it's all right, reliable and all this, you kind of stick with it when you're not feeling like that, for instance, perhaps, and it's people in your life can kind of exploit that, I found sometimes. And it's like, I always think it's nice to treat people as you'd like to be treated, really. It's just a general nice thing to be. And it's very disappointing when people just are completely not like that, yet you invest a lot of time, emotion, energy in them. And that's such a common thing, I guess. So therefore you become a good listener, and then you think, oh, who's going to listen to my problems? Oh, it doesn't matter, and then you're faced with insomnia, headaches, and all aggravated mood swings and irrational behavior and risky behavior, like all the stuff that you can read on the internet, when you think, am I depressed, or am I what is this? Because you notice in yourself that life's not so sunny anymore, and you just think, when you recognize that you didn't always feel like that, kind of. So back to that original point, that question, when you said, when you look at yourself and take time for yourself, I guess then it actually just builds up to a point, and you just think, I can't take it, but you can't take it anymore. It's just rubbish. You hit a wall. Like, for instance, when I had a few years ago, I had like some knee surgeries. I was out for 2 months, I think, and had to reschedule a tour. And my main worry was about the band and about my well, the main thing was because at the time my daughter was 5 years younger. So yeah, she was 6. And so my main concern was how I could like be as helpful around the house, as do my part. And the band, and how I was letting all the band and the crew down, but it was the medical thing, and I did actually put, like, say for instance, 2 weeks later I was in Russia on a stool playing the gig, and that's not putting myself first. That was stupid. Now I look back at it and I can't believe I did it. I felt obliged for all the people who bought tickets, and I still had all the stitches and stuff inside my legs, and I was like thinking, this is just stupid, to go along in snow. And I just thought, should have stayed at home, because that was,
but so now that experience taught you what?
It taught me just to not do that again, and just nothing's, and there's a few other examples, but that's the main one that's in my mind. And I should have just thought about myself first and just said, no, that's not, we'll just have to reschedule the gig like people do. But I've always been, you know, always play a gig, or if you got a cold, or if you're feeling sick, or if you got food poisoning, or if it's like, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I'd got heat stroke on stage in France, and during the middle of the set, and was like vomiting, and then just collapsed on the stage. But we played about 45 minutes, and ended up at some French hospital. No money, didn't know where I was, and you know, with heat stroke, I've been thought it was heart attack, but it was. But I then thought this is a quite interesting subject, because it's kind of in these extreme heats at the extreme heat at the moment. These festivals, you know, there's a band that's got to play when it's the hottest part of the day, and this stage didn't, you know, directly in the sun, and if you're trying to do your usual act, you know, it's just, you know, you wouldn't. It was just extreme, and I think people who are doing these festivals as well have to think about that as well, because, you know, humans don't like the heat like that, and
well, even
again,
people in the audience, you know, I see like, I don't go to festivals. That's like way anxiety provoking for me. But I see like footage and videos, whatever, and I'm like, they're just in the sun, and I'm like,
it's insane. Why do that for fun? I mean, like, this is in 2014. We came over to America, and we played Coachella, which is kind of unusual. I thought when we were there, who wants to see toy dolls at Coachella?
Well, yeah, but that's a little weird.
It was a bit weird, and we were there, and
you're in the desert.
Yeah, and it's so hot, and we were going, bloody hell, this is unbelievable. And you didn't, like, Motorhead were playing, and I went and had a look. No, not Motorhead. Fishbone were playing.
Okay.
Oh God, and I love Fishbone. They're old friends of mine, and I went, just had a little look, but even walking out in that the sun, nothing was covered. It was just too much, and you're scared of getting heat stroke then for your own gig, and it was just not fun circumstances, and all the people were out, and it's a weird festival, but you know, yeah.
Do you make a point to hydrate a lot when you're on tour?
Yeah, totally. I try to I'm drinking water all the time, and fruit more so nowadays, and I don't eat meat. I haven't for many years, and like Coca-Cola, things like that, I don't drink. But now I'm going back to, I just thought, how do I cope with these situations? I mean, every now and then, of course, there will be a time and just think, well, I've got to have a few drinks, which is a silly thing. I've got to have it, you know, but that's kind of a very archaic coping skill mechanism that I've had as long as I can remember. And I've always found, if I say to myself, I'm not doing something or never doing it again, I do it 20 times worse.
Yeah.
So, but I guess with that is like having like stuff to do, like in pandemic, apart from the learning, I started drawing again, and that really was really good for the old brain. You know, it was and that was just for fun, and then brought to my attention I should put it online. I was going, nah, because again, you just think, no one's, and it was, you know, it's a big risk and stuff, and it turned out okay. So I think having stuff to do, which will lead me to my quote later, or whenever you like it, is but it's that helped a lot, and just keeping busy doing stuff that interests you. And I think I'm incredibly lucky to be able to do stuff that interests me, and that I can also generate a bit of an income from as well. So so when, say for instance, my grand or someone, an older and wiser relation says, follow your dreams, follow your heart, or you should do this, Tom, blah blah, and you think, well, that's just really unrealistic, because that's been told to me that's unrealistic, and you'll never get far in that. But you know, it's, I guess just been lucky, right place, right time.
Well,
I don't know.
I still say though, right place, right time, but it's also like you want it, and that desire, I mean, like that passion is literally like, that's what it takes, because you know, it's like, because also it kind of ties into just like gratitude, and you know, that's like a higher, more elevated energy, but like that connects you to like good things.
Yeah, no, for sure, it's good, and the sense of achievement it's great because when you do a gig, sometimes the satisfaction of self-critical, like lots of people can say great gig, and one person go, oh God, that, were you awake during that gig? You know what I mean? And you think, oh God, that's really, oh Jesus Christ, that's really brought me down. And but I find with art, with drawing stuff, I can look at that and I get a sense of achievement, and I like it. And it's only myself that's done it. You know, when you're in a band with other people,
Right.
But again, I'm hugely proud of what we've been doing with the band for the last millions of years for Toy Dolls. It's a very special thing, I think, just generally for us as we're playing it, because we all really enjoy playing. When lots of people, I don't know, sometimes have the impression the old dinosaur bands and they're just doing it for this or that.
Right.
But, you know, you'd lie if you said you wouldn't do it for free, because you can't live for free. You know,
and you're entitled to be compensated for things
yeah,
that you put your energy and
I
creativity
think,
into.
yeah, I think I've done enough time in back of. I spent most of my adult life in the back of a van, going from one place to another with God knows who's sketchy driver. You know what I mean? It's like, but I think you still got to do stuff in your life to bring stuff home as well, to have something to talk about. I don't think it just stops, because it doesn't, because there's still something else to do, I think.
Yeah, well, you're still alive, so there's
exactly.
that.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
So that's it. If you're still alive, you got to fill your time with things that make you happy.
Fill in the gaps, and and try and be as. I mean, it's insane to be happy all the time, but I think it's like good to then accept the times that you're not going to be so upbeat and buoyant and readily available for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, along what goes with that expectation is sometimes you can get then the added worry that you're not going to be that person when you go out, and that's when alcohol is such a good thing that I had in the so you can do the show, but then it becomes a bit tragic if you're just drunk doing the same thing over and over, and you just think, oh, come on, man. Then people like you because of who you are, not just because you're funny when you're drunk, which is, again, something you have to cut. It's not something you overnight you go, oh, actually I can be funny when I'm not drunk, or but you don't necessarily have to be funny all the time and entertained. But I don't know, it's the old brain fills in, if people don't talk, or filling in the gaps and talking nervously.
Have you ever tried meditation?
No, I haven't. No, and it's been recommended to me before, and yoga as well.
Yeah.
And I've not tried either. And again, I've thought about it, and I've thought, I'm going to do this, and then I don't, and then I'll do something else, like go swimming, and I think, well, I've done something, and got over that hurdle of all the people at the pool and all the blah blah language barrier.
But the swimming, I mean, it's not yoga, but that's still like that's therapeutic, and it's getting
great.
you in your body, just like yoga.
And it's a non-impact sport as well. The doctor told me that, which is funny. Again, when you get older and the doctor tells you these things, you think, oh, bloody hell, I'm not that old. But, I think it's better to have a well lived in body, I guess, than, I don't know.
Yeah.
All these making excuses to yourself. Well, actually, it's not that bad.
Well, but you gotta keep up on some of the physical activities so that you can still run around on stage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
I
guess with the pandemic as well, we had a few too many pandemic lunches or whatever, and then when it got back to getting on stage, we wear these small costumes. It's not a costume, we take it very seriously. No, it's like these small clothes. I noticed it was a bit, I think it was on a hot wash before, because it got a bit smaller, and I could hardly do the thing up here, the collar. Saying, oh God, this is, and then you're conscious about how you look on stage and you're sweating. And I remember the first couple of gigs were awful. I thought, you start thinking, I can't do this anymore. This is just, well, it's not natural anyway. But then you're doing it thinking, bloody hell, can I do it anymore? And yeah, it took a few to get back into it. And I did get this advice months in advance from Olga, our singer and leader, get fit, Tom, it's going to come soon. The gigs are going to come soon. Things getting cancelled and I get cancelled. I think I'll get fit next month then, And then all of a sudden you're playing a gig and you think, well, that didn't really go to plan, did it? I didn't get fit. And it's a work in progress.
And that's it too. It is.
I think so,
just day by day.
Yeah, just like back to the thing, walking, doing something, literally baby steps, isn't it? You're not going to like do a decathlon straight out of the gates and go.
No. And it comes down to the baby steps, but discipline. So set an alarm on your phone. So when you're in drawing mode at 4 hours, go take a walk.
Yeah, that's a good idea to set these things. Because also it's not actually very healthy for you. I noticed if you sit and do a lot of desk work for a long time, your back goes wrong and your posture's bad, headaches, etc. It's not natural.
No.
I
guess you need sunlight. You need
you need the is it vitamin D, I think, isn't it, from the sun? That's a real good one. And if you don't go out, you're not going to get any of that.
No.
And those times when you literally have self-isolation before, any corona or anything, because again, you talk yourself out of any situation you might get involved in outside of your house, be it ordering some bread for the bakery or trying to get a bus ticket.
Yeah.
So therefore you don't go out for a while, and then that's not great.
It's not. And I mean, I've been there. I moved to Spain I was going to get married to a Spanish dude, and I was there less than 2 months before I ended up having I hit a wall, had anxiety, panic attack thing, and it was primarily rooted in language. I was
for sure, yeah.
I was 75% fluent, but not 100. I wasn't understanding, and I think you had said this too, or maybe it was when we were emailing, but I wasn't understanding their jokes. They weren't understanding my jokes. And that's a huge, so I mean, I had trouble going to the grocery store. Yeah. I mean, it's terrible, very overwhelming.
It's frustrating, isn't it? Because language, well, not so much communication is what, we're pack animals that need to communicate to get on. And when you've taken that out of the equation, your day-to-day life's rubbish, because you just and then you really become it that. And I'm not glad you did it. Obviously, I'm glad you understand the thing. It's just, it is hugely frustrating, and frustration leads to anger. And, and these are all quite deep rooted in depression in the, and how it makes you act and feel, and insular in this one person, you can feel like the only person of your nationality in this complete strange land.
Yeah.
I think Sting wrote a song about that. I don't know. It's really bizarre, and it puts you in a situation that you'd never ever thought about. I didn't think it would go wrong in any way. I just thought, I've been everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but I've been touring a lot. I know Germany really well. I've been coming here a long time. But actually,
or people that say, because people said this to me, I took Spanish in high school. I'm like, it is a world of no, it's not, when you're trying to live in that culture.
There's all sorts of different dialects, and the jokes, sayings and all this, and the culture. I don't know. It took me a good couple of years even to suss out how, the correct bus thing to get. I'd walk everywhere, and I'd always pay with notes, so I've got loads of change. And all my friends would make fun of me for that. They go, because it's even though I've got more of an understanding, it's still incredibly fast. And also it's not so many people. I mean, lots of people do speak English, and quite a lot don't. But I'm in Germany, so it's my responsibility to speak German. But say, for instance, if I go into a shop and I'm feeling confident and I'm speaking German, they'll finish my sentence. They'll finish off in English. Go, okay, that's blah blah, and it happens all the time. And I think I'm not learning. It was great before, because then or sometimes I just point or say, "Entschuldigung, mein Deutsch ist nicht so good." Must have said that a million times, and they go, "Oh, your Deutsch is very good, sir."
What was it that you said?
Excuse me, my German is not very good.
Yeah. Well, that's what I learned how to, I taught myself, like in Spanish, speak slowly, I'm learning. I started off with that.
Yeah, that's always good to have these things. But even then I'd get self-conscious about, did I say it right? Or did someone tell me that so I sound, I don't know, it's really bizarre. And I just thought, am I not able to live in another country? Because I was like, when we were on sometimes on tour, I wanted to keep going forever. And sometimes you just think, oh, I can't wait to get home. And I would always go home to England, to this place called Norwich, and it was quite slow and quite, familiar. And now I live in quite a big city. It's a bit louder and faster, which essentially is what you like when you're younger in the music.
Right.
I suppose,
Yeah. Well, I just think for you now, or anyone else who's in maybe some kind of like, I don't know, anxiety box or something from time to time, go outside.
Yeah, it's good.
It's free to just walk around, and the movement actually, like truly walking, helps with your central nervous system.
All right. Okay.
Like down regulates anxiety, and like the sunlight. Literally, just go outside and walk.
That's good. I mean, I tried. Also there's a good thing about just doing that, so you're actually physically tired, because when you have all this stuff going on, sleep is really difficult.
That was the other thing. Earlier I was going to say that the other benefit, you get the vitamin D from the sunlight, but also getting that exposure helps not only with your serotonin levels, which is what makes you happy, but also it regulates your circadian rhythm. So the sunlight during the day that you're getting will actually help with the melatonin release for proper sleep.
Oh, that's
insomnia at night.
Yeah, because that's what I found for many years. I think, and a lot of it, if you are sleep deprived, if you're like worried you can't get to sleep, and then if you're worried you do go to sleep, things like this, and then you wake up all the time, and that lack of sleep really affects your mood and ways to cope with things, and you kind of feel like, I never understood what was that film, is it Fight Club, where he's like an insomniac in that, and I just thought, oh, that's quite dramatic. And I wouldn't actually make any comparison, but that kind of surreal kind of in between mood that you don't feel happy, sad, or anything, and that's really bizarre. And sleep again is the best thing.
Absolutely.
So I think instead of drinking yourself to sleep, or that's because you only sleep.
Actually is a whole lie anyways. All alcohol does is the dates part of your brain, which is not natural sleep.
And then it wears off, and then you wake up, and because it's kind of an anesthetic, isn't it? So when they say, oh, alcohol's a depressant, and I thought, oh, that's rubbish. I'm always happy when I'm, and I thought, no, I'm not actually, because the next day, totally. And then you got to work at that, and you go, oh, actually, I see. That's what it. But it's I think I don't know where I was going. But anyway, yeah.
So do you have a quote that you like a lot that you would like to?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the deepest quote. Actually, it is quite deep. Actually, I was thinking about this when I was on my walks today. There's nothing in particularly like. Anyway, it's from a film called Finding Nemo, and it's from Dory, and she says, "Just keep swimming," and that's basically what I think is the best thing. If you keep going, just keep, not necessarily doing anything fantastic, just keep going. It doesn't matter as long as you can just, do it. And that's to tie it up, I guess, in a way. It's like, I find if I stop and mull over stuff, and, then it's, your brain can get sort of clouded by lots of negative stuff and fall into like coping mechanisms and destructive behavior, so to speak. And then, you can't, just keep, be as positive as not. I'm not saying like, I don't wake up and go, oh, I've got a positive mental attitude, I'm going to be really positive today, because again, it won't work. I'll be grumpy all day. But, it's like, I don't know, don't be too hard on yourself if you don't achieve, or maybe if you don't get out that day, you can go out tomorrow. And don't be your own worst critic in a way, and just keep going. Don't stand in front of yourself if you can. Again, it's easier said than done as well for lots of people, and I understand that. And having experienced a few things, I can totally empathize with lots of stories I've heard, or people I know or known, stuff like that. You really understand it. And I'd say it makes more sense if you break your leg, because your leg can, put the thing on and you don't walk on it and it's all right again. But the other things are not so. It's a bit more complex. And there's no real answer. Or I don't know. Sometimes, say in the past, someone would say to me, like my father maybe would go, "What have you got to be depressed about?" And you think, cheers, mate. That kind of thing. And you think, well, on everybody, like you can portray yourself on the surface as being like, again, with the internet age and the social network, all of that, people can portray exactly what you want to portray, who you want to be. And it's not necessarily what the person, how you are. But I think it's just keep going, just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, because you got to build some momentum, even if it's slow momentum.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like,
you just need to move.
Just like making the decision to learn a language, and when you're in that country is, of course, the most obvious thing to do. But for me, it's the most difficult thing to do. If you see what I mean? And I don't know. And integrating, but there's lots of different, yeah. I threw myself into a few things here. Anyway, yeah, it's been a big journey. It's been it's not been boring, put it that way.
There you go.
Yeah. Keep it interesting,
Yeah. So the tagline for my business, because I do the interviews, but then I also do like the wellness coaching, I sell supplements, is delay dying.
Oh, so yeah, that's
I
good.
like to ask if you had to give someone tips or advice on how to delay dying, or in other words, live a happier, healthier life, what would you say?
Well, obviously, I'd say, try to be as healthy as you can. Like, don't smoke and don't drink excessively, or don't, I don't know, do what's right for yourself, I suppose. But it's very naive to think that drinking loads when you're young isn't going to affect you. Of course you can repair yourself, but I think psychologically and things like that, it's not so easy. Just take it easy, because like I noticed the generation that's coming now, say younger friends of mine a few years ago used to hit it harder than say what we did. And I was thinking, you're in a rush. What's the big rush? You know what I mean? Because I remember being younger thinking, it doesn't matter. It's like this live fast kind of nihilistic tendency, total nihilist. And I guess that's a state of mind. Well, obviously it's a state of mind, and it's a lot deeper than just getting, fucked up. I've gone on a big tangent here, but I just guess, just don't be in a rush to, prove to show off with, I don't know, not even showing off, but you don't have to experience every level of intoxication. I guess what I said at the beginning, because I'm getting a bit muddled now. Just to take some care of yourself, and listen to your body, because you don't want to be older and things start falling apart, prematurely.
Yeah.
The heart, I think, it's only got so many beats in it, so you can avoid doing lots of risky stuff that's not good for you, essentially, and it's destructive, and it usually is. So yeah, take care of yourself,
Make good choices.
I think so. Yeah. Obviously, it's like that's a very good one. Yeah, make good choices.
Do you guys have anything cool coming up, late September, October, anything like that?
I think we're going in November to Prague and Austria and Budapest. Not a lot else really, because it's all at the moment. We've got next week, some tours and not much going on. So yeah, it's been a good time in the middle to talk. So it's like maybe after a few more days, it might be a bit of a different interview where it'd be like, oh yeah, God, I hate the band and it's just so rubbish and, you know, bored of that. But no, it's great. You know, I'm just very, you know, grateful that it's all still rolling.
Yeah.
Really, you know.
Still swimming.
Yeah, just keep swimming, that's right, you know.